Well, last season and this season, Jacob Reed had a plan to get up to the pace and the speed to beat Valenteus. And, well, we need to signal the Valenteus light in the sky because where is he? Jacob Reed, 2 wins from 2 and no sign of the alien again as we head for the first time in the series to Portland. And in a throwback of throwbacks, there's no first chicane today for the IMSA Vintage Series here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Now, hello, everybody. I am Craig King. Joining me in the booth today is Stephen Koenig. And behind the scenes, it is Daniel Costello with the cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Now, Portland is a new track to the sim. Came in last season. Haven't had a chance to do it yet in IMSA Vintage. And a lot of series have really started to like this flat track in America. To find out more information, we will go to our GSRC track guide, brought to you by Joe Peak.
Welcome to Portland International Raceway. Located on the north side of Portland, Oregon, and right next to the Columbia River, the track is known as the premier racing circuit in the Pacific Northwest. It's by no means a very long circuit, with its 2 layouts clocking in just shy of 2 miles, or just over 3 kilometers in length. Depending on which one you choose, it has 9 or 12 corners to navigate over the lap. In the chicane version, the Shelton chicane absolutely smacks you in the face and presents the best passing opportunity. But watch out on lap 1, because these bends are notorious for causing messy pileups. Turns 4, 5, and 6 will take you on a sweeping ride, but they spit you out into the extremely important turn 7. This hairpin does offer chances to pass if you're sneaky, but it's more notable for the fact it leads onto the long backstretch. Failing to get a good exit out of there will leave you incredibly vulnerable. This is where the track reveals some of its roots as a street course, with this curved stretch formerly being Vanport Road. Hug that wall on the right because you're going to need every inch of track on your way into the chicane of 10 and 11. This switchback catches out many drivers of all skill levels due to its speed and the fact it requires you to set up for the final turn pretty much immediately. Make sure not to get too much wheel spin as you ease back onto the pit straight and you've finished a lap. With IMSA, SCCA, IndyCar, Formula E, and NASCAR all having raced here, there's an impressive variety of motorsports disciplines in its history. Considering no other major racing tracks are remotely close by, PIR is king of the roost in the Northwest, and one loved by fans across the country.
Well, Stephen's just a little bit held up at the moment, but here is Portland. No chicanes today, which means that start straight is going to be like the old days. 1983 was the last time these cars drove around the track with a chicane. In fact, it was the last time any car drove around the track with a chicane, without the chicane, sorry. But it does provide some very interesting moments. Sweeping right-hander at high speed into turn 1 now. Going to be really interesting to see how those GTOs will slow down. GTP is going to get that really wide line straight into turn 2. And of course, then you've just got this complex. It's a lot of flowing mid-speed corners. You want to get that balance right. You want to make sure you keep the speed hard into 4 and then down the back straight into 6. It's a very quick lap. It's going to be less than a minute for the Nissan GTPs. And then that final section, 7 and 8, it looks tight. It is tight. Overtaking for the Multiclass will be a challenge today. In fact, if you've ever seen the NASCARs, the Indy cars come around here before, you do know that it's a very treacherous track to make any sort of overtakes, and you factor in some screaming GTPs with the GTOs, it's going to be quite a battle. We get to the championship standings, and as I was mentioning at the start of the broadcast, it's Jacob Reed, 2 from 2. Straight there with the 50 there on the board, raises his bat for the half century, and Shady Ahmad will be behind him with 2 decent wins. But the interesting thing, top 3 are top 3 because they have been in both races, but Ahmad and Lim yet to have a podium. Behind them, a whole plethora of drivers, Mekanos, Grau, both getting a podium, but only done 1 race. Plumley as well, very quiet, but he's up there early doors into 6th. And then Guardian and Jack Wales also ending up on the podium, but only in one race each. Early days, Jacob Reed has the lead. If we go for the GTOs, it's a different story. Because when we get to the GTOs, it'll be Noel Lundberg who is leading the fray out there and very close to Mickey Friesen. Both of them with a podium this season, but Lundberg has that win at the start of the season. Mickey Friesen is trying to catch up. Henry Morse, really nice, quiet start for him. I say quiet because he's the man that no one knows what to expect as he's still getting into the series. And he's now becoming one of those regulars and people you want to circle. Shane Hawkins as well, right behind. What a rise he's had with Ian Haycock's there as well. Michael Polasek won the first race in the season. He's there in 6th, did not turn up last week. Van Hicks and Lake as well, 9 and 8, 8 and 9, sorry. They did not turn up for one of the races. That's why they're down there with 22 points. But it's race 3 of the season. It's going to be some interesting times. 40 minutes out there as per usual. Open setups. Bring what you want to make. The community makes setups, or you can make your own. But remember, if you crash it, you're done. There is no spare car out there. A drive-through at 17 incident points. Additional penalties at 25. I've got Stephen back with me. And Stephen, don't think we'll be seeing a lot of penalties for off-tracks today. It's a pretty flat track. Not a lot of camber for the drivers to really throw the car into.
Well, I think there's going to be a bit of a change there. Flat circuits always make for a bit of fun, and after driving on the circuit, I've fallen off a few times, getting lost of where I need to be. The corners being a little bit blind for the apexes, so I beg to differ. I think we're going to get to see that 17X.
Well, we'll wait and see. One thing is for sure that the drivers are just finishing up their qualifying times, and like I said, it's a minute-long track. And you are not having any errors there on the timing tower. Nicholas McCandless and Jacob Reed have set the exact lap time in a sub 60-second lap. I actually don't have the words for that, Stephen. What are the odds of that on a lap on a track this quick?
Honestly, all I could say, legendary, and I want to see their setups. I bet you the gearing ratios are exactly the same. Cole Young in 7th position, also trying to put the hammer down and trying to improve. A big take slapper, and unfortunately into the wall. Just going in a little too hot, and unfortunately just drifting out wide. We're going to see that more and more often during the course of this race, where drivers are going to push the boundaries a little bit harder, but unfortunately, if you do get that tank slapper due to low aero, and you're having to rely on pure mechanical grip, it's going to hurt.
Yeah, it's going to hurt. Here comes Paul Clavier to the final section, 7, 8, and 9. And you've got so much runoff here that you've got the exit here. It's almost a runway. It's actually a drag strip. So it's wide, a lot of speed. That's where the tire barrier is there. Really gets on hard onto the throttle to try and hold it down. This is his second lap. His first one was invalid. He'll come across the line for 105.268. Decent time there for Clavier. As you can see up front, just 200ths separate Van Hicks and Lundberg. We expected that. Mickey Friesen also close up there. It's not as close afterwards, but wow, we could be in for an interesting one for the GTOs today.
I think this is going to be very interesting as Carlos unfortunately learns how the car can bite back. This is going to be about slipstreaming. So if you're the leading car, you're in for a world of hurt. You have to get the corners right. But for anyone behind you, you're just going to punch a hole in the air. So many of the drivers are taking into consideration, maybe first place is not the ideal spot to be in.
No, going to be absolutely interesting. And Christopher Lesniak having a little moan at turn 4 out there today. I'm not sure he's going to be liking that. But we'll see Duncan Marias as the final drivers come and set that lap times. Duncan, one of those drivers, he will come across the line to set his final lap time, and it's going to be a 104.928, sorry. Doesn't improve him, and Foreman Pollock behind him. Some really good racing for him this season. Does not set a lap time. Do we have anyone else? Nobody else is able to set a lap time. Alvarez going around at the moment with just a little bit of some practice laps here. And I think the drivers, even though they've done a couple races this week, Stephen, they're going to need a lot of practice out here.
This is the thing. You want to try and get as much track time before the race as possible. And Antonio Alvarez has got the right idea. Start trying to figure out the car a little bit, figure out the circuit a little bit more, as Carlos Francesca is trying to also put the hammer down through the double right and flat onto the gas with these GTPs. You've got so much aero to suck you down on the circuit, which is quite helpful. You can actually start to play around with the lines, working out what's going to work for you.
Yeah, he's just doing a little bit of some sighting. That turn 4 that Lesniak was talking about. And I think he's on an out. We'll see what happens with 38 seconds. If he does set a lap time, it will count. But I'm reading on my screen, this is his out lap. Regardless, this is just times he's able to just go and do hard speed again. You can see the speed difference. We've seen the GTOs, how if you get the speed wrong on that final corner, you find the rear wanting to kick out. The GTPs don't have that much of an issue. So that's going to be one to play for. I hope, Stephen, we don't see any overtaking on those final corners today with Multiclass. But we do know this is Camel, and we do know the chaos it can bring.
It's going to be an exciting one, that's for certain. You say we don't want to see it, but I actually do. I want to see the going in and around on the underside of our competitors. But that being said, you've got to be patient, and you've got to ensure that you see the checkered flag. But with the qualifying all done and dusted, drivers will be moving on to getting ready.
Drivers will be moving on, so let's get to those grids and the GTPs. Well, anyone got a piece of paper? Might need to use that or a little place-it card to separate Mechanos and Jacob Reed, because you could not separate them today. Absolutely identical ties. Well, 1,000 between them, as you see. But Mechanos will take that pole from Reed. Jack Wells will be third, with Shady Ahmad in fourth. And then it's Brendan Lim in fifth, with Ika Costa-Salo in sixth. Christopher Lesniak will take seventh, with Gabriel Martinez eighth. And then it's Brandon White in ninth, and Eki Anderson makes a return in 10th. And just 5 more drivers for the GTPs today, as Antonio Alvarez will be 11th, with Robert Plumley in 12th. Andre Felipe Diaz, the last of the time qualifiers, in 13th. Carlos Fonseca, who was just looking there, did not set a time. And Christian Arribas will be in 15th. 15 GTPs. I think you've got a few more GTOs today, Steve.
GTO is always a fan favorite, and my personal favorite of all the cars. Gotta say, looking forward to seeing how the race is going to go. It is Joram Fixier in first place. Noel Lundberg, after his win last week, will look to try and fight it out. JD Rodriguez, followed by Mickey Friesen, Philip Blake, Sean Hawkins, Doug Cloud, Carl Young, Josh Brain, and with Andreas Schuster lying in that 10th position. A little bit further down, however, we have got a number of drivers just hanging on, looking for a bit of pace, and it's going to be Mate Lorenzi, Ian Haycox, Emilio Degaraki, along with Henry Ramuka, Romano Bello, Torben Pollock, Oliveira Howard, Duncan Perez, Martin Rivert, and Paul Calviera, rounding out in our 10th row. A little bit further beyond that, it's Ed Benson with Johnny Bell, Jamie Hamill-Smith, Marcel Mayer, and unfortunately not able to get a time on the board is Michael Palmera.
So 25 GTOs with the 15. I'm getting ahead of myself there. GTPs out there today. It's a full formation lap, and it's a long way down. This is past the drag strip now and into the first corner. Track temp today is 40 Celsius, 104 Fahrenheit for those using the Fahrenheit. And if you want that weather, there is a 12-kilometer-an-hour wind going westerly, which means that they're going to actually have a wind coming at them, coming down that start straight, which means these sections are going to be very interesting, because that's quite a bit of wind to actually just upset the balance through these corners.
GTOs are going to have to keep that well in mind, obviously, when our GTPs start fighting their way through. I do, however, think many of the drivers stuck on the outside will be going and stressing a little bit. They need to get to the apex, and you don't want to land up in a bit of a problem. But there is a huge gap between the GTOs and the GTPs, just to allow them to get a little bit more heat into the tires, to just open things up a little bit more, and a lot of concerns starting to come in about what turn 1 is going to be like. But I have to say, to see 15 GTPs going and ready to race, and also with 25 GTOs, we're about to hear a symphony here at Portland.
We're going to hear a symphony of motors, symphony of burrings, and we're going to see a lot And this is going to be interesting when it comes to the multi-class, because that's a lot of bricks that these wedges have to try and go through. And it's not a wedge like a skateboard goes over. It is going to be a wedge that will just pound on through the corner and through the air. We get ready for 40 minutes here today at Portland Raceway. Javier Mascaro with a quick drop, that's unfortunate, but Macanos will lead them away. A little bit of a check up behind. Pace car goes in, and the start-finish line is a little bit higher up than it used to be in the 80s. Wait for the green flag, and he catches everybody napping. And Jacob Reed will just have to wait. Everyone will try to go into some sort of single file. Is there going to be any early moves for these 15 GTPs? Well, Reed tried to block off anything from Jack Wells, and he will indeed. And in the background, Brendan Lim trying to make a move as he tried to fight on Iker Costasalo. Everybody get through cleanly. Now we've got to get on to the GTOs.
It's going to be a wild one for our GTOs. Vinexia going and leading out, but has got Rodriguez putting a lot of pressure. Lundberg down into third, not having the best of starts, as the GTO field keeping rather clean on the outlap. No one wanting to push it the limit too far at the moment, but take a look at Nicky Friesen going and guarding the inside against the likes of Mr. Lake himself, who's hunting for a position.
Hunting for a position, a really good go there. I was about to say we've not had anyone lose it, gaining more than 2 positions, but Olivia Hayward's already gone around in the GTO field at the back of the field, and also Josh Brain having a little bit of a move. Emilio Dechari, one of the only drivers to make up 2 in the whole of the lap so far, as we have not really had a lot of position switches. But here comes the Audi train, and with no chicane here and a long straight, this plays into the chest back that these drivers love oh so much. You can see how close that JD Rodriguez gets to the back of Johan Van Hicks, and then decides, not yet, we've got 38 minutes to go.
McLaurin up on the inside, trying to go and give it everything he's got. Stuck to the inside on the apexes and just can't put the power down enough. Sliding, managing just to get ahead to steal that 10th position up the order, but now needs to try and break away. Unfortunately, it looks like for his competitors further behind, it's going to get rough. Josh Brain stuck, getting towards the dirt, and we have got a spinner. Unfortunately, little carnage in the background. Drivers putting wheel onto their dirt, starting with Henry Primaki going down the order into 22nd and beyond.
Yeah, Viramaki just having a small moment there, and it's interesting the battling we saw with those GTOs, because you make a mistake and get put the wrong side of that complex through 1 to 4, then you do lose the position. And even Emilio Dechari got pushed a little bit too wide into 4 with an overtake and lost another position to remain bellow. So keep your eyes on that and keep your eyes on these drivers, because in one more lap, they may actually catch up to the GTO field. But Jacob Reed's waiting for the opportunity, and it's just a bit too far away to look for any lunge. But the Chicane's oh so fast, you kind of don't want to, and then hard onto the brake. Even though we're about to start lap 4, these two have already amassed a 2-second lead to the rest of the field. You got a feeling it's going to be a battle of these two for the rest of the day.
Well, I do think that Nicholas Macanos has got a lot in the bag to move forward, but he knows how to defend line. We've seen that last season as he fights out with Jacob Reed, but JD Rodriguez down into 3rd place is battling against Lundberg, who has retaken 2nd. You can see just going and keeping on the racing line, making life rather difficult, but right on the back of Vinexia, utilizing that slipstream, does not want to move out of it at all, where Rodriguez is actually keeping a little look on the inside, see possibly where can he go for a dive into turn 1, but it is going to be Lundberg up on the inside. Null trying to get the run up in through the right-hander. He just needs to keep it on the power. Well done to Vinexia to hold it side by side this long. Knows that he's got a problem as JD tries to put his nose in to also into the fight. JD has got a lot of room to play with. Lundberg stuck, having to guard the inside line, getting pushed out to the outside whenever it came to a left-hand corner. But it is going to be Lundberg up into 1st. But for how long is the question?
How long is the question? And I tell you what, Phil Lake almost made a fantastic move to do a double, but he managed to get past Mickey Friesen as he saw. Friesen saw that Lundberg went for a move. He tried to do it. A little tap here. Friesen's gone wide. He's onto the grass. He'll get the car back, but it's almost a shade of last week up in Ohio. He goes off in a great position, and he's back on the track all the way down. That's not what he wants to see, but we've got to keep our eyes on at the front of the field. Here, John Van Hicks, and a man that knows the epitome of around the outside. This time doesn't need to go around the outside. He'll hold on, retake that lead, and this is smart because if they trade the position, look at it, top 8 in a train right now. If they just hold these positions to start flipping, they can start to pull away, and that could be good. Meanwhile, in at the GTPs, we missed the leaders as they go through traffic, and a new leader has happened, and Jacob Reed has it.
Jacob Reed now trying to navigate the traffic, and Nicholas Makanos, unfortunately, getting caught out. You can see the battle scars on the left-hand side of the car. A little bit of aero damage as the field now starts to make up a bit of time to them. That 2 seconds is starting to fall away, and Nicholas Makanos knows he's under pressure because Wells is right there in for the fight.
Yeah, what happened last lap is McCanus went to go and overtake a GTO. GTO ventured off the racing line. McCanus had to get onto the brakes, and that is what the little damage is, losing some time, and he's lost a second. Having a hold up there from Jamie Hamill-Smith. He had nowhere to make that move there. He had to back off. So this has brought everyone together except for Jacob Reed, as he is now on his own, still going through the traffic. The rest of this field all closed up together as we look at Iker Cotasalo, as he's trying to just wait for the opportunity. They've been through some of these GTOs. They still got 16 more to go through.
Fortunate part is it's so difficult to overtake offline on the circuit due to you have to get your braking markers just right. And for the GTOs where you got next to no grip, you're going to have to be the bigger bully here and hold your racing line. For the GTPs, you're going to have to put all the power down, try and make as a pass quick as possible, because you also don't want to be sitting on the outside and having those rear wheels touching the grass. We've seen the mistakes that can fall. Gabby trying to move around and battling to try and make up some headway here. Fortunately, losing it out on the straight and losing out even more time to his competitor behind.
Well, Josh Brain unfortunately just had a moment. We're going to go free wide very quickly with McAdams trying to hold on to whatever he can onto Jack Wells, and that damage, even though it's superficial, it looks like it's affecting him. Wells had a really good run there but could not get it, and now they're into the traffic through 2. And I do wonder if this damage is affecting him. He's lost the time to Reed because of traffic, and Jacob has to try and go around the outside of 3 to take the inside away at 4 to hold off Friesen and Haycock. By the way, Friesen getting right away, a position back, trying to make his way, and Shady and Mad keeps on going. No, as I was saying, Josh Brain had a little bit of a tap from Corbin Park behind, spun out there going into the chicane at 7. Right behind them was Jacob Reed. A small moment there for Jacob. Holds on, but as you look, there's the 007 camera. You probably don't want to see the front camera because there is a queue of GTOs waiting for these two.
Got to open up full taps. One of the fastest sports cars built in history. Now needing to utilize all the power possible, and it's Null up on the inside, trying to get a pass done. And really battling to hold it all together through the double right-hander. We've got our GTP field now joining in as Rodriguez gets a mirror full of seeing Reed trying to overtake. Reed is stuck in a horrible little fight as the GTOs now going and compromising his line. You can immediately see Lundberg getting past. Noel needs to now keep the power on as Van Hicks gets the drag down the main straight, but this is going to be a battle, and I do think JD Rodriguez has open cards to get it all sorted out if he was just a little bit braver to keep that nose in.
Yeah, try and keep the nose in as much as he can, and it's very interesting to see how some of these drivers just have to go split second free wide there, and very scary free wide it was. JD trying to look for a position. He looked, he tried to get it, could not get it, and he's just waiting. But the more times he sees these two constantly switch into side by side like this, the more he gets from straight in. Shady and Mad with a very nice dive to go 3 wide there, quickly get it, and the leaders are still bumping and running, and they're still going, and Van Hicks, say it once, say it twice, say it 3 times, he has gone around the outside to defend his lead, but he's now got to go around the outside of 4 to hold his lead. That's going to be tough on this wide corner. Gets a really good run, but Van Hicks will hold it. No, Lundberg can't get this. Van Hicks defends around the outside of 4. What defense, and they still go side by side.
This is absolutely incredible. This is GTO racing. This is why we love the class. And it is Van Hicks just getting the nose ahead. But for how long? We have seen this situation before. And Lundberg now needing to do everything possible to keep in the slipstream, aim for turn 1 again, and hope that the GTP field does not compromise his line. He's going to have to go for the inside in turn 1.
Don't think he's got anything to make a move right now. As you see more drivers come on by, that's Antonio Alvarez in that GTP just going by. In front of him is a couple side by side, Brendan Lim and Lesniak try to go side by side, no position change there. But this battling has affected the field because all of a sudden, where's Doug Cloud? Doug Cloud's in the grass, and Doug Cloud has had a moment here, and unfortunately his race is done. He got taken out by accident, and Doug Cloud out of the running in 4th. I believe that also affected Philip Lake. Yes, he went down in position. Keep watching with Van Hicks as well. Keep an eye on this quick replay, and I think what this was under the braking, just tapping each other a bit too much. Yeah, they were going for the same line. They were just coming together there. No one at fault. It's just one of those things. Doug got stuck, and I think he missed a gear and got bogged down in the grass, while Philip just had to keep on going. He loses some position. Doug loses a lot of positions.
At that point, if you're not holding the clutch in as well, the engine takes a bit of strain. And now Van Hicks here, now trying to do everything. Van Hicks diving towards turn 1, getting a little bit more breathing room to the likes of Noel behind it, but Noel waiting, biding his time. And I think this is now playing into just the mental situation. If I sit in your mirrors long enough, you're going to have that mistake. But you do not count out JD Rodriguez sitting in 3rd place and having a chance to get past.
Yeah, you just don't know what's going to happen. Cal Young is trying to catch up here. He's in 4th position, trying to catch up to the rest of this train. Very interesting right behind him, because there's that train. It's growing, and here's Mickey Friesen trying to make the recovery drive here, almost getting the position from Philip Lake. You've got the man who is close to being the next big star in the GTOs against the man who was the big star in the GTOs in Philip Lake, and it's so tough for the apprentice to try and get past the master. He didn't get taught by Philip, but you get the reference there. Mickey looking for an opportunity. Best thing for him, there's no cars behind them. Best thing for him again. Philip is kind of out of the slipstream of Shane Hawkins in front. That works for the man in the box of neutral purple.
Gabriel Martinez also now looking to try and gain a position here. The top 5 on the cards. Oh, loses the rear. Unfortunately, saves it. But now lost all the time gained and will fall down the order. Not what Martinez wanted, and dead down the straight as well. You're having to go through the gears each and every time. So unfortunately, Martinez not having an easy time, and the tires are going to be heated through the roof.
Well, someone who's having some sort of a time is a Lesniak here today. He's net 0. He started 7th, he's still 7th. And he knows that he probably wants to find some pace out there today to try and get past Brendan Lim. And he gets so close and then breaks a little bit earlier than Lim. Try and get a different line here. Again, first week in these cars for the series, still trying to find different lines, trying to find what works for them. Because it's such a flat track, you've also got the ability that you can have a little bit of a different line here to try and work it. You see some drivers turn in a bit early, some drivers turn in a bit late. But that lap car is going to cause some issues, and I thought it was going to cause some issues just for Lim. It caused some issues for Lesniak there. Chicanes are very tricky when it comes to multi-class.
Especially when it's a flat circuit, and for the GTOs, they don't have the luxury to move around as much as the GTPs, as we do have likes of Doug Cloud keeping it all together. Nice, gentle braking. Oh, a little bit of a lock-up moment, however, behind him. Doug Cloud took a deep breath, waited to see if there was going to be a bang in the back, and well, not this time. He's now got a little bit of clear road ahead to keep marching on.
Yeah, that was Foreman Pollock, and That was kind of the same situation in another corner that Foreman had with Josh Brain early in the race, and it comes down to that. Drivers with different items, different ways of taking this challenge on today. Different braking zones, different braking forces, different speeds and everything. And I think that caught Doug out, or caught Foreman out. It's caught him out once, it's caught him out twice on different corners. It's going to happen today. It is unfortunate. Doug lives to fight another day. Though -7 for the day as he's trying to make a recovery drive. It's going to be a tough recovery drive for him. And talking of a tough recovery drive, Philip Blake looks like he's had some moments. Shane Hawkins looks like they've had some moments out there because they're all battling with Mickey Friesen. As Doug Cloud, he's just relaxing right now. He even gets some time to adjust his shirt.
Cloud, you can see a little bit of a huff of a little too far down the order. He's 9th in the championship mix, so not where he wants to be. One person that's riding 8th in the championship, Philip Blake, in a battle and really trying to get through some back markers and aiming to try and get past Mickey Friesen. Not going to be an easy charge, however. Mickey 2nd in the championship, looking to move a little bit more closer to the sharp end of the field. At the moment, running in 6th with Philip Blake on the back is going to make things a lot more challenging for the Boxer Neutrals team car.
Yeah, what happened on the start of the last lap, Shane Hawkins went a little bit wide into turn 1, went onto the grass, and I think that spooked Philip out a little bit, and Mickey just went, thank you very much, I'll take that. And you've got this man who can now lead them to the rest of the field. Cal Young and Andreas Schuster were 4th and 5th just up the road, and you see them, just those two, just ahead. When you see the box of neutrals, you know it's Mickey, and then they're catching up to the rest of it. So Mickey can get back to that P4 where he started. Yes, he'd like some more, but about 2.5 seconds up the road from them is JD Rodriguez. Now, 2.5 seconds, Stephen, that sounds normal until you realize that the lap time to these cars are 64 seconds. It's going to be hard to try and find 2 seconds here.
It's also, as the cars get lighter and lighter, that means the pace is going to get quicker and quicker, but I also wonder how much of the field is split up that you're going to have to work through. As we do see little silos of battles happening out on the circuit, means there's no actual way to put the hammer down on a clear piece of circuit. As we see the likes of Noel trying to make up a bit of time in 2nd place, Van Hicks going in, making sure it's not going to happen. Noel looks once again a little bit to the inside line, but just not close enough to make it happen. And no more side-by-side moments for these two. I think it's now just a waiting game for anyone to just miss an apex.
Yeah, first one to blink loses as Ian Haycock looks to try and get to Emilio Dicciari. Not this time. They have had the lead GTPs go through them for the 2nd time. Nate Lorinsky is now having his own little battle in the rest of the field. He is battling Roman Bello. Well, Roman Bello got past him, and he's going to have to try and work it out today. It's not a quiet day here for Mate. He started in 11th, now down into 12th, the Hungarian. Actually doing really well for a driver we don't see a lot. Well, a driver I don't think we've seen from the broadcast for a while. It's always nice to see a driver that just dips their toes in on a Saturday and tries their best. And no better, really, when you look at who's ahead of him with Roman Bello.
Got to say, this is a series that you dip your toes in. It's much like having a packet of crisps. You always come back for more. Nicholas Makanos, unfortunately, not having enough pace down the main straight, stuck behind Reed, probably getting a little bit flustered at the moment to try and get on by, but traffic just keeps throwing him off the apex as he can't put the hammer down. Will have to utilize as much grip. Reed gets caught out, however, and this is going to allow Nicholas to close up that gap and have a better exit if he can just maneuver through the traffic a little bit better. Unfortunately, had to lift.
Yeah, had to lift a little bit, but you saw the dip there of the car. The nose dipped for Jacob. He had to get on the brakes harder than he wanted to around turn 4 due to that car, and they're back together. And it does show. It's interesting. I don't feel that damage on the front of Jacob's car is affecting him as much as I thought. Nicholas's car, sorry, is affecting him as much as I thought it would. In fact, looks like it's all cleaned up right now. Hello, has he done a mid-race click of the fingers to get that going? Good look at the overspeed right now. He did try to do this late move on a GTO last lap into turn 1. Could not make it stick. 5 seconds up the road would be some more traffic for him. But now, Stephen, this track is full. There's not a clean bit of gravel or tarmac anywhere. This is what it's going to be for the rest of the race. It is absolutely packed out there, even with just 40 cars.
Well, with 21 minutes remaining, this has gone from a sprint race to the endurance for our GTP drivers, as navigating through traffic is never easy on new tires. Now go and talk about tires that are worn out, overheated, and also you're just going and battling to keep it all together. This is going to be a mental game. This is now who's got the stamina, both mentally and physically, and Nicholas trying to use the slipstream on the car, unfortunately disappearing in and out, and having to just be rather careful. As take a look at Noel falling down, and this has just brought Rodriguez back into play.
Yeah, top three all together, and Mickey Friesen managed to get past Schuster. He's battling for P4, but these three keep on going. Iker Costasalo going by with Brendan Lim ahead of them in the GTPs, but these three now stick together, and it's the usual suspect. It's like Van Hick and Lundberg. JD Rodriguez there with the Ferraman car as well. Alvarez looking for a move down into turn one. We knew this was going to be overtaking position, trying to make it onto Gabriel Martinez. Could not do it. As there's Mickey Friesen. There's the gap he's got to try and get for another car. That's Ed Benson, a lapped GTO right ahead. This is such a tough overtaking position. Turn 4 have caught a lot of drivers out today. And once again, Alvarez with that hesitation. And then into 5, another hesitation. That is a real pinch point for these drivers today.
It's also the corners that Apex is rather blind. You can't actually get to it too easily. It just falls away underneath you, and if you're stuck on a single screen, it goes and disappears out of view. Now Alvarez at the moment being overly cautious not to interfere with the GTO field, and it is costing him a huge amount of time. So Antonio Alvarez needs to put the hammer down, needs to take that breath, believe in the skill and confidence to make it work.
Talking about the skill and confidence, right ahead of them on the lead GTO side by side. And Lumbo's trying to go to the inside once again. And say it with me for the 5th time, folks. Van Hicks defends around the outside. And he's still got the inside here for free. And now you see Lumbo trying to go a little bit wider. I think he's washed out a bit too much to make this. Is there going to be a free wide? Oh, that's not the position to make. Gabriel Martinez cuts into the corner, slows everybody down. Everybody in Lumbo misses the gear, and he's lost the position, and he's lost the pace. And if you're those GTOs, you've got to be wondering, could you not wait a moment? We're in the middle of a battle.
And going out of the turbo range, you fall massively out of the run. Van Hicks now trying to get the drive, but take a look at Rodriguez putting the hammer down and giving it absolute horns. Rodriguez now sees first place is on the cards here and will be hunting down for every opportunity. But our GTOs need to keep an eye on the rearview mirrors as more and more traffic is starting to come in. Noel Lundberg trying to also gain some time, is in a fight with Young on the back of him.
Yeah, I do wonder if Youngbo's going to be able to do that. Cal Young caught up as well. So if they have this battle, they'll be able to keep on going. But this is Van Hick. In fact, we've had a position change in the lead. Jacob Reed's crashed. Jacob Reed, the leader, is crashed with massive damage at the final corner. And what has happened here for the man? He loses it due to Eki Anderson losing it in front of him. And it is a concertina effect. The championship leader is out of the race. And here's the replay.
So in through the right-hander, sees slow cars, had to brake mid-corner and just steered away from it. Unfortunately, oh, there's the contact from second place, and there is the carnage. Mickey Friesen gets clipped on the way through as well.
I do have to wonder if that's just a case of a driver that is a mechanical flag, but I do wonder, did Eki Anderson just rejoin rolling a bit too early there? Trying to get back on the speed there, but was unable to get it. The person behind taking a bit of damage as well. It was Jacob Reed. Of course, Jacob Reed, where does McCandless have to go? McCandless had nowhere to go, and he went there as well. Not how we wanted to see that battle going. We've still got more battles because the GTO leaders of Shane Hawkins makes a really impressive move on Andreas Schuster as he gets by. Philip Lake is trying to get by as well. We do have a battle still in the GTP because Jack Wells is there. We've got this battle still brewing in the GTOs. Just because we've lost the leader, Stephen, it doesn't mean the battle stopped.
Schuster at the moment trying to bring out his inner Ben Morgenrud style with the Sassel colors, old South African modifieds coming in, but he really needs to put the hammer down here, feeling the pressure of the cars behind, just trying to move forward. That number 16 is not hanging around, wanting to go and get past to unlap oneself. Schuster, however, needs to put the hammer down to try and regain 6th place ahead of Hawkins.
Well, in the GTO lead, well, I don't want to be a broken record as we see Schuster go side by side. I don't want to be a broken record because these two are going around the outside. And say it once again. Say it with me, folks. Johan Van Hicks, I can't even remember the words even. Van Hicks defends around the outside. And if you're JD Rodriguez, you have to think to yourself, how do I stop this? How do I stop this? He's just too good around any corner. He loves going around the outside of corners in America, and he's done it once again on a flat track. This is Port Lumbergen. This is Port Cal Younghead. Stephen, you've got a man, you know who, you've driven this track. If he can't make it work into turn 1 and turn 2, what else can he do right now?
Anything you can do is get right onto the back, into the final corner, and just ensure you have as much straight line as possible. Try and shift him to the inside line. That's one thing that hasn't been done. He's stuck on the outside. He knows how to drive the outside. Put him on the inside where there is marbles to make life rather difficult. It's going to be late braking for the Apex. Got to just trail it in. Keep your nose ahead just to push him offline. Unfortunately, a little too far back, and this is costing him time. You need to try and get on the hammers a lot earlier to just carry through. Unfortunately, Van Hicks is having a beautiful charge. Lundberg now dealing to try and get involved. Young is on the tail. You need to try and move Van Hicks off that outside line. Get him uncomfortable. Try and down the back straight. Aim to push him up against the wall as much as possible.
We've had a position change in the GTP as McCannell lost the lead to Jack Wells, and that happened literally on the last lap with the same overtaking move, 2 laps ago. And I wonder if there is a little bit of damage for McCannell as he's in the traffic, and he's in the thick of the traffic right now, trying to find a way through, and he's not able to find many as Jack Wells will continue on by. And Jack has had a quiet race today, and it looks like it's working for him. And say it with me once again, up ahead of them, here comes the GTO, and this is interesting. I think he's heard it. He's managed to get a little bit later on the braking, and JD Rodriguez, for the 7th time, finally, the Foramen gets on by, as McCannell is still battling to Jack Wells. You can't look anywhere. You got to feel sorry for Daniel. Where does he look? Where do we look?
At this moment, look everywhere, go and watch everything as Van Hicks now trying to make up the time. Let's see, this is the first time he's been lying in 2nd place. He's going to have to try and figure out, and it's one of these type of moments where, listen, it's time for your own medicine to try and drive around me. And this is all going to help out for Rodriguez as Van Hicks not having an easy time out there. Will get the advantage onto the main straight of just being in the tow and not having the GTOs getting too badly affected by the GTPs. But Rodriguez will have a bit of a run down the main straight, and there is a bit of traffic ahead. One of our GTOs, they'll landed up in quite a few painful moments. There's McCurnus, looks on the inside, and once again, unfortunately, Van Hicks gets pushed to the outside, not the way he wanted, and will have to keep the hammer down. Philip Blake, however, lying in 6th position as Andreas Schuster loses the rear. He's sliding it back, and that works very, very well. Very reminiscent of Ben Morgenrud back in Cape Town in the early 80s in the Mazda, which is in the same Sasol colors.
Yeah, it was him and Shane Hawkins. They had a little bit of a coming together, just not knowing where each driver was on the straight. And Shane tried to hold his line, and Schuster tried to just squeeze up. Shane held his position on the middle of the track, and they both went around, and that was unfortunate for both of them. Here's Jack Wells. He's got a 2-second lead almost to McCannell. He had a really good run through that traffic, and it shows. And I don't think that is where Jack is from, but I think I know he's trying to rep the colors of Valenteus, as we do know he likes those colors. Ian Haycox is repping his own colors in the light green, trying to get past, you know, the Chari, the Argentinian, who once again, if you think it's warm here, it's nice and cold in Argentina right now. Still looking for a really good move to Haycox. He wants to be cool, calm, and collective. He will be cool, calm, and collective. The GTU, that's the under 3K iRacing Championship. That's the champion, is the Chari. And, you know, even if you lose out to Ian Haycock, that's nothing to be ashamed about. That is a legend. And Emilio is really hanging there.
And Haycock's trying to score as many points as possible, lying 5th in the championship, and needs to be as far up in the order to fight it out with Shane Hawkins, who's lying 4th in the championship as it stands. Ian Haycock, you can see, once he got clear, he's able to go through the gears. He's a little bit more comfortable, starting to open up as much room as possible. Knows that time is running out as 11 minutes remain of this race.
Yeah, 11 minutes remain in this race, and Norlenberg is going to look for some moves here, and he now wants to get ahead. Notice Van Hicks got that position back. Did not see where that happened, but they'll go side by side, and Lundberg can do this. JD can't go around the outside and defend like Van Hicks could when JD tried it on him, and he will get a little bit of overlap. There's nothing left for him. Lundberg, after what happened earlier with that misshift after the descent into turn 4, he retakes that P2, and with 10 minutes to go, he has it. And I keep looking. Cao Young right behind. He's losing time to the rest of the field. Mickey Friesen's catching him so he could get his position back, but it's all about these three. And at the moment, after that little battle, Van Hicks is going to be happy that Lundberg has managed to get ahead.
But Solo had to hit the anchors rather quickly, not to run into the back of Lundberg. He had to really figure out what to do, but Jake Wells been keeping it consistent in times despite the traffic, and has opened up a monstrous gap at the moment. This is what you want to do. Just slowly tick those laps off, keep consistent throughout the pace, and know the circuit rather well. Know where you need to overtake, and know where you need to back off, especially in a multi-class race of this nature. No ABS, no traction control, all brute force power, and lots of aero grip underneath that Nissan GTP. Oh, it's just a little bit of contact there. Heading into turn 1, not going to be a pretty one. And Shane Hawkins, unfortunately, taking a brunt of that, falls off. And our 4th place in the championship loses out to Schuster, who went a little bit elbows out racing, still sliding the rear, not getting it all in check.
You know what? I thought we were looking at a replay there. That is almost a carbon copy of what happened to those two 3 laps ago. That's a carbon copy of what happened to those two at the same time. And I'm absolutely puzzled. I need a lottery ticket because the chance of the same thing happening with the same drivers at the same place in the same race, that's pretty rare. And the chances that these 3 finishing in 1, 2, and 3, well, they'll finish 1, 2, and 3. We don't know where the positions are going to be, as Van Hicks now has a nice lead over Lundberg. And this could be the battle now. We talk about it, 43 Celsius, 110 Fahrenheit. That is the track temp. Tires are starting to heat up here. They've been driving hard or driving calm for the GTOs and these trains. They've been driving for 32 minutes. These tires will be starting to cry out a little bit here because with no camber, there's nothing to help the tires just groove into the corners. It's all flat. I wonder who has the best tires going into this final 8 minutes.
This is where it's crucial to work on your setups and why the series actually goes and allows people to share setups with one another just for the newer drivers. Oh, JD going and missing the brake marker by an absolute country mile and going and straightening out the corner a little bit. Loses out, and I think Rodriguez is now down the order and will be completely out of contention unless the likes of Noel and Van Hicks go and slow each other up yet again. This is going to be a nightmare run. Noel, however, has got the chase, looks for the inside, and I've got to wonder if Van Hicks doesn't want to be put on the outside anymore, doesn't want to be on the marbles due to the car's mechanical grip starting to drop off.
Yeah, there was JD Rodriguez having a small moment, missing his braking, cut the corner into 7, got the iRacing slowdown, so he is now 2 seconds behind these two. And unless these two start doing that side-by-side battling, which we have seen so far this race, it might be all that she wrote. Shout out to Mickey Friesen, though. He did not see that. Managed to get past Cao Young. I think Cal's had a little bit of an excursion out there a few laps ago. In fact, he did. Not the best of couple of laps, and I think he's got a little bit of damage. So something happened to there, but Friesen back up to 4th where he started, as Van Hicks needs to look for the defense. And a little look there from Lundberg. Is that a place you can make a move? I'm not entirely sure, but with 6 minutes to go, I think he's trying something.
You can put your nose in and get a pass done. It is possible, but you've got to really trust your opponents as well, not to go and slam the door. Otherwise, both are going to land up with a problem. It is going to compromise both of your drives as well.
Let's just have a quick look at the replay. These two go side by side. And this is Shady and Mad as he comes on by. I did see, hello, that's Nicholas McCandless. That is Nicholas McCandless having a moment. And then everyone getting caught out there, and Shady and Mad getting caught out. Very interesting there. I did see McCandless loses the car and loses the plate as well.
Betty, unfortunately, falls down the order, and that nose is definitely going to be feeling it. As we do see Van Hicks now starting to put the hammer down and realizing that Noel is going and looking elsewhere on the circuit. In through the chicane here, not going to happen, but through the double right-hander is an opportune moment if you go for the inside. Couldn't quite get it done and dusted. We've got another replay of Schuster trying to guard the middle of the circuit, and oh, that's turning off to the left-hand side there. Both, unfortunately, wanting the same piece of ground, and unfortunately, that will be 2 retirements, and Schuster getting a bit of airtime.
That's the third time those two, have done that. And I'm starting to wonder what on earth has been happening there for those two to have that as Van Hicks. We'll keep our eyes though on what happened to Van Hicks. He has to defend around the outside, but he's got a new dance partner with 5 minutes to go, and it's Noel Lundberg. And we were talking about if these two start doing the two-step tussle, they might be able to bring JD Rodriguez into it. I'll tell you what, JD's looking at this. He might still be in this, Stephen. These two are just scrapping right now.
JD is rubbing his hands together, saying, go, go, go. Do it again, especially at the end of this back straight. Into a left, into a right, 4 successions. You can miss your gearing so easily on the exit here and then compromise your time. And Noel now running it right to the wall as close as possible. Turn 1 is going to be an absolute monster fight. Noel needs to go as late as he can on the brakes, try and trail brake as much as possible to keep his nose by the door of our leader, and does so. Around the outside they go. Noel into first, but for how long? Just needs to try and slide a little bit more. Unfortunately, Van Hicks is going to have the advantage into the left-hander. Noel stuck on the outside, not comfortable on the marbles, battles to bring it back, and unfortunately, not enough pace to hold that first place at current. But JD is returning to the mix, and we have got a trio dance happening in the last 3 minutes and 55 seconds.
It's a 3-man dance, but it's not like ECW. One gets eliminated. They're all battling. Roman Bello trying to have a little battle. And the key thing once again for Van Hicks was Van Hicks breaks later around the outside. That is one to keep your eyes on. Roman Bello is now going by. Eki Anderson has towed the car, I can report. Jack Wells goes on by. So these cars, these GTOs know this is probably going to be it for them. Roman Bello still battling right now. Is he trying to just hold off Shane Hawkins? He's got a crane with Andrea Schuster to go. 3 to go. Anything can happen. We've got a battle here for P2 and P3 in the GTP. We're keeping our eyes on that. Nothing's happening with that at the moment. But everywhere we look right now, it's a GTO fest.
Romano Bello has kept it clean and moving up through the order. Slowly but surely, a little bit of damage on the nose for an odd scuffle with the GTPs, but it's good to see him out there. Rodriguez, however, now in contention for the fight, trying to close up as much as possible. The pressure must be mounting on these three to score as much as possible. For Noel, he needs to get the first place to keep traveling up the order. Mickey Friesen's a long way down the run to get going, but Hicks down in 8th in the championship. This is huge points that may help towards the later part of the year.
Yeah, I'm just looking who got the better line there. The entry into 7 and 8, Lundberg is really quick. And he has to get onto the brakes here. Shady and Mad trying to battle here, trying to hold off. But Shady and Mad trying to get to Nicholas McCandless, Meanwhile, this is happening. GTO battle. So they're going to be going side by side almost. And here comes the leaders going side by side. And I've lost count. I've lost count how many times I've said it. But Johan Van Hicks around the outside. I've said that many times on many tracks. And even now, it never ceases to amaze me. He has it. But look at Lundberg. He's still got an overlap. And can he do a late break here into turn 4? He can. But around the outside defense, the slide from Van Hicks. From Lundberg, Van Hicks will get this, but keep your eyes on JD. There's space as they go side by side. He's tapping the brake. He doesn't want to make it free wide. He says, you two, go for the dance. Side by side, they'll go into 7 and 8. The inside to Lundberg, the outside to Van Hicks, and around the outside, the light tap, a lock of the brakes, the hold on, and Lundberg gets that position from Van Hicks, but here comes JD. Here comes JD, and then side by side, and they go forward with 2 laps to go.
I went and said, if you get a pro drive, you're done and dusted, and that's what happened. But take a look, Van Hicks now regaining second place. I think Noel realizes he had a little bit of a light tap, a gentleman's agreement, and it's cost him a bit of time. But JD waited for the opportunity to just go for the underside, got the run, but it is now all pressure and all gas, no brakes for these 3 in our Audi GTO field. And this is why it's one of the most competitive classes to be in for historic racing.
All gas, no brakes, yeah, what I mean, because the white flag coming for Jack Wells. He's going to be taking the last lap. He's got 60 seconds and less for these drivers. They're going to have to go one more time. And there's no battles on the GTP field at the moment. Jack will have a nice, quiet time around this final lap. But all eyes will come to those 3. It's the 3 that they'll take the white flag from Barney. And I feel that Van Hicks is not close enough to JD. He's going to have to look for an opportunity elsewhere. Look at the toe. Will he take the toe from Costasalo? He looks at it. He gets half a toe. JD goes for the defense. You know the outside's good for Van Hicks. He'll try it. They'll grind. They'll bump and run. And around the outside for Johan Van Hicks. Has he missed a gear though? He comes to the fight back. The fight back is on. He can't get it. JD will hold it. Jack Wells is coming around the final corners, and we'll get to them right now because there will be an overtake here into 4th. Jack Wells, through he goes. Dominance the moment he took that lead. The moment McCannell's had the issue, he takes it. But now it comes to these 3.
Absolutely phenomenal stuff for Jack Wells, but it is going to be a big run. JD has got no points for the season and now has an opportunity to put it into first place. Only 1 corner left, in through the right hand and get your gearing absolutely perfect. Van Hicks trying to slow down Noel as much as possible as they put their foot down and come across the line. JD is going to be smiling all the way through to the bank, taking first place and his first set of points in the championship.
Fantastic driving from all 3. The respect as well from all 3. And Johan Van Hicks constantly around the outside. You've got to feel for him. So much defense, but it belongs to the foramen today. Doug Cloud will get that P7 in. Haycock will hold off a Shane Hawkins just at the end. Roman Bello started the lap in 9th. And unfortunately, a moment cost him to lose some time. Just a light tap from Josh Brain. That will be all she wrote. And trust me, I still have my voice somehow after that fantastic racing. Let's get, though, to the standings, because Jack Wells, the moment Jacob Reed had that accident, people wondered what could have happened. Well, Jack took the lead from McCannell's, and McCannell's had to have had a couple of mistakes, and Jack just cruised home to victory. McCannell's was second with Shady Ahmad in 3rd. Iker Costasalo in 4th, with Gabriel Martinez into 5th. Brendan Lim will be 6th, and Chris Lesniak will be 7th. Last car on the lead lap with Brandon White will be 8th. Andre Felipe Diaz 9th, with Brandon White 8th, Carlos Fonseca will be 10th. Yeah, one driver. These are actually these are actually the retirements. Eki Anderson 7 laps down. Antonio Alvarez will be 12, with Robert Plumley 15. Jacob Reed, as we saw, were 19. Christian Arriba did not take the start by the looks of it. He will finish officially 15th.
What a blow for Jacob Reed, and his championship blown into smithereens at this point. But our GTO field has been a rather exciting one. JD Rodriguez only winning by 0.2 of a second, with the likes of Jerome Vixie in 2nd place. Noel Lundberg in 3rd. Mickey Friesen moves up to 4th place, along with Philip Lake, Cole Young, Doug Cloud, Ian Haycox, Sean Hawkins, and Andreas Schuster, despite the contact, finishes in 10th. A little bit further down, however, it's Roman Bello, Josh Brain, Duncan Murray, Marlo Dakari, along with Torben Pollock. Down on the lap, Nate Lorenzi, Jamie Hamill-Smith, Henry Frimaki, Oliver Hayward, and Johnny Bell in 20th. A little bit further down is Martin Riveret, Eddie Basin, along with Marcel Mayer, Paul Cavier, and unfortunately, retiring out of the race early on is Michael Palmera.
Lots of people racing all around the world today, like we want to see in sim racing. It doesn't matter where you're from. It doesn't matter what you got. It doesn't matter what issues you have either, or disabilities in that sense. You still race and you race together. And what a race it was today. One of the best ones we've seen for a while. I got to be honest, Stephen, I was a little bit anxious. You know, I know Portland with a chicane on that start straight, but I was expecting it to be a little bit interesting. It kind of took away there with the chicane, but we'll get to them interviews right now because we'll start with the leader of the race overall, and it's Jack Wells who comes home in the victory. And Jack, that at the start of the day, it didn't look like it, but everything fell in your lap today.
Yeah, most certainly. I kind of settled for third as soon as we gridded. Seeing Nick and Jacob tied at the top and quali was quite impressive. So I was happy just to get a podium. Wasn't too happy with my pace here, so I was really happy to start third, and then I was just aiming to keep it clean finish there. I saw with how close they both were that there was going to be some battles. I'm not sure what actually led to Jacob going out of the race, but yeah, obviously there were some tight calls between the two of them.
Yeah, I mean, I will put it down to what is, of course, multi-class traffic and lap traffic as well, which brings me to the other question here, because the traffic around here is tight, it's tense. It looked like it was not the best of times to try and find a way through these cheese blocks today, am I right?
No, yeah, it was very difficult to find the right moves. There were different drivers who would see you coming, some wouldn't see you coming. So it was kind of just to try and gauge, just via the car's body language that you're approaching, whether they were aware that you were oncoming as a Nissan in this race. So yeah, I think I did a decent job. There were a couple times when I was trying to keep with Jacob and Nick, and also when I was just battling Nick, that I made a couple moves that I wasn't so proud of, so apologies to anyone that I made a little bit of contact with or put offline in those moves.
So we go from a track that we don't know very much, we know now, to a staple. It's Suzuka next week, and I know there is the Spa 24, but is that one that you're going to be circling? Because I know it's a track that everybody loves to drive. I'm pretty sure it's one of your favorites as well. Yeah,
kind of middling for me. I've never had like super much success there. I do like driving high downforce cars there though, so hopefully it's good fun if I'm able to run it. Like you said, Spa kind of clashes with it, so I'll fingers crossed that I am able to run it. Obviously now with a good result in the last couple of weeks, I'm looking for good championship points obviously in every race. So
yeah, gotta look for the good championship point. Now, Aitor, Sintez Galindo in the chat was saying it's a great win today, and he was cheering you on, of course. And I think it's only fair if you get a few shout-outs, and if you want to tell Aitor to get back in the car, I'm pretty sure we will know the answer will be no.
Yeah, yeah, I hope to see Aitor back soon. I know that he's taking a bit of a break at the moment, but that'll be good, and thanks for his support. Everyone in Pushrod Racing actually as well is super supportful of myself. We kind of work together really closely nowadays to work on setups and stuff, so thanks to them. Thanks to my friend Chris, who was watching along and helping me with calls and traffic and stuff today as well.
Well, Jack, congratulations on what I believe is your 4th broadcast win of all time for the IMSA Vintage. We look forward to seeing you hopefully next week, but you and I will probably be at Spa as well, just in case, because there is something else going. But all the best, Jack, until we see you next time.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Jack Wells, who finished the victor in the GTPs. And it's only fair if we've got the victor for the GTPs, we can get the victor for the GTOs, who just having a moment there. There he is. Stephen is with JD Rodriguez.
JD, welcome to the commentary box. How are you feeling after such a brawl? From start to finish, it was just a fight of note.
Yeah, I feel like I've won the lottery pretty much. I was 100% sure I was going to finish P3 because there was no way to overtake from P3. If Noel and Joran were fighting ahead of me, I felt that there was no room, there was no way to make a move. But I got lucky, Noel and Joran tangled up on the final corner, and I could take P1 and still win.
How was it going through turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, turn 4, side by side, and just trying to keep the hammer down against some of the fiercest competition we've seen thus far?
Nah, it's amazing. The amount of times all three of us went side by side for half a lap, I mean, it was amazing. It's so nice having that you can trust in. I mean, this time Noel and Jordan, but pretty much everywhere in the everyone in the community, having the confidence to push, knowing that the other person is gonna respect you and give you the space. It's an amazing feeling, and it's why this series is so amazing, honestly.
Was there any concern of the GTPs coming in and messing you guys up, or was it just hold your line and keep going?
Honestly, maybe I got lucky, but I felt like pretty much every Nissan was really respectful today. I felt like earlier in this week, the first sector was a horror. Nissans didn't know where to go for the overtake, and they were diving on turn 2 where it's impossible. But now I feel like during the week they realized they can overtake outside of turn 3, the long left-hander. It's much easier for everyone. And in the chicane, you just gotta pray they make the corner and you can just get out of the way because they're so much quicker. And thankfully, I could stay out of the way of everything and keep the car intact. So yeah.
Well, taking the win here tonight in the first win of the season, we're going to leave the floor to you. Anything you want to say to all the virtual fans out there just shouting after such a phenomenal race for the GTO class?
Nah, I want to thank everybody in the community, pretty much. The last couple of weeks, even in the non-broadcaster races, I have some issues. I wrecked multiple people. I wrecked Mickey yesterday. I have an incident with Matt Malone and Borja last week, so finally I could have a clean race. I could relax, tone it down a bit, and yeah, it's really nice to know that if you behave, that's pretty much sure that everybody else is gonna behave, because yeah, as I said, this is one of the best series in iRacing and one of the cleanest. So yeah, thank you to everybody who makes this effort to make these weekly races, and hope we can keep doing this for a long time.
Absolutely wonderful. JD Rodriguez taking the win for the GTO class and having the pass of the century on the final corner. Gotta say, absolutely incredible stuff. And Craig, I'm a big fan of the GTO field and will forever be a big fan of the GTO field just because of that racing.
How can you not like the GTO field? How can you not like IMSA Vintage? Another classic IMSA Vintage race today. And if you like more, we got some more next week, because as I mentioned, as I was talking to Jack, we're at Suzuka next week, the 12th of July at the same time, 1700 UTC. So don't forget to watch that, because if you liked what you saw today, well, there's going to be more action at the legendary Suzuka circuit. And of course, there are other races coming up this weekend. And then for the following week, of course, our next race here on GSRC, not on the broadcast at the moment, will be the Lotus 79s tomorrow. But until then, I want to give a good thanks to Stephen Koenig, who joined me in the booth with Daniel Costello behind the cameras and Dougie Beard providing those cameras for him. This has been the GSRC. And if you like what you see, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. You don't want to miss any more action. We had a new winner. It's Jack Wells. Jack is back on the top. Everything can happen in just at a blink of an eye. You've got to keep all 4 wheels on the track. And we'll see if all the drivers can keep all 4 wheels on their tracks when they come to Suzuka next week. Have a good night, ladies and gentlemen.
This is iRacing.